and intelligence to take action on sustainable projects.
Talk Today is brought to you by Subway, open 24 hours in Countryside, Anderson Square in Georgetown, and Centennial Towers in West Bay. And by the Ministry of District Administration, explore your history, explore your land, explore your sister islands. And Cayman Airways, call them on 949-2311 to book your nonstop flights to Los Angeles and Panama. And Doctors Hospital, peace of mind is important when life happens. Doctors Hospital, always there for you. Call 949-6066.
But I do have some questions.
There are more questions than answers.
Cayman Islands' foremost listeners participation program.
Talk Today.
What is on your mind, Cayman? If you are ready to talk, we are ready to listen. Here's your host, Sterling Dwayne Ebanks.
Hey, welcome, and thank you very, very much for joining us on another truly amazing, fantastic, just absolute wonderful week, and a Friday in particular, as we invite you to start things off with our friends from Hope for Today Foundation. And then at 1 o'clock right after the news, the Honorable Deputy Premier will be our guest. 4 o'clock, we're going to be, no, just kidding, that's a different thing, we'll tell you about that later. But join us for another exciting, engaging, hopefully fulfilling, and riveting day here at Talk Today.
Avoid any statements or comments which are abusive, derogatory, malicious, or defamatory. Do not use indecent language or make any statement that is false or misleading. Call 1-800-534-8255, 949-6990, 949-8037, or WhatsApp us on 925-3261.
Email Talk Today at candw.ky. Let your voice be heard. And now, back to Sterling Dwayne Ebanks, Radio Cayman Talk Today.
Hey, welcome back. Thanks for joining us. And to Mr. Brent Hides, how are you? Welcome.
Yes, Sterling. It's always a pleasure to be here. Talking about this most delicate subject, and that's recovery in the community and recognizing those that are struggling with substance abuse in our community.
And the notion that September is Recovery Month, the notion that as you and together, with all the panelists over the years, whether we're talking about a sporting event, whether we are understanding the importance of the community, we're keeping it in the minds of everybody. But it is something that I think is important. Ms. Raquel, welcome. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. Thank you for joining, and to all in your profession who assist, who volunteer, who contribute. Let me just ask, as we look at recovery, two immediate questions. I wonder to what extent, A, when we hear recovery and someone's in recovery, oh, you just, fell, had a surgery, you're recovering, and now you're better, you're going through physio, months, weeks, years, whatever's passing, you're good. Or is it recovery is daily? Maybe for some it's, every couple of hours within the day. Is that an ongoing process?
Yeah, I think, when we're talking about substance use recovery, it's something that never really ends for people, right? It starts off, I think in the beginning it tends to be a lot harder. I think Brent would agree with me. And the goal is that it becomes easier as you go on, right? The longer you're in recovery, the more recovery is suddenly your life, right? It's not something that I have to do every day. You're like, I've actually made the changes. I don't have to think as hard about being in recovery. Recovery is just how I live my life.
Is that then and guide me, because I think too many of us sometimes see someone doing something and then it's just for a time and then it becomes, whereas for those of my friends who say, listen, this is a daily walk. It's no different than the lifestyle choices you make relative to proper nutrition, and the diet and exercise, the sleep, the consistent habits to help you get where you want to go to have a better quality of life. But eventually it becomes more than habitual. It becomes your life, but you gotta work the plan and have a plan to work.
Yeah. And I would also just say, with recovery, when we're talking about substance use recovery, it's not just stopping the substance, right? Like one of the things, you can stop a substance and not be in recovery, because recovery is also about changing your mindset. It's about changing your behaviors. It's about changing your lifestyle. And I think, Brent, I think you'd agree with me on that as well.
Yeah,
Recovery is
absolutely.
more than
For me, recovery is pretty much everything Raquel has described it to be. But it's also my daily walk.
Yeah.
In the beginning was such a struggle to stay clean. That walk has changed now, and my mindset has changed. It's not what I'm going to do to keep myself sober.
Yeah.
Is what can I do with other people to help other people find recovery.
Okay.
So it's giving up myself and removing me out of my selfish thinking and stepping up to the plate and trying to help somebody else. And with the daily walk is determining on my spiritual condition.
Yeah. And you sort of answered, you answered the second question in that for some of us, if I heard you correctly, they can stop that substance use and abuse, but they're not in recovery. People hear that going, but he doesn't smoke, drink, or whatever it is. Maybe there's a woman, but he did. What do you mean he's not in recovery? Can you expound on that?
Yeah, so in Alcoholics Anonymous, there's a term called dry drunk, which is somebody who has stopped using their substance, but really is still in the mindset of addiction.
Okay.
Right. And so sometimes people are in that place where they've stopped using the substance, but they're still doing a lot of behaviors that go along with addiction. They might still be hanging out in places that put them at risk, hanging around people that put them at risk.
Yeah.
Sometimes illegal behavior comes with substance use. They might be still engaging in illegal behavior, even though they're not using a substance, and saying, oh, well, but I'm sober. And we're like, for now. But like recovery is about changing all of that behavior, because to really be successful at stopping a substance long term, you do have to change everything about your life.
And understanding that, and I'm grateful to the opportunity to read for my friends who share with me as you have, Brent. Hey, listen, I've done this. This was the impact. As best as you can, learn from my experiences, so you don't have to do it. That's what you're sharing with the others. Help them on their journey. Maybe speak to the schools and to others so that they don't end up,
Yeah, I mean, it's like it's kind of like I said before. It's for me. I've never thought about using drugs for a very long time.
Yeah.
What I've always thought about is what can I do
Okay.
to maybe encourage, support. What can I coordinate to highlight the benefits of recovery? What can I do to be that example of someone actually seeking recovery and what recovery can look like when someone changes their behavior and their attitude.
Right. So then, let me then ask as a sort of a minor point in that I know some who would say...
Let me say it.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah.
There was some stuff that Raquel mentioned, and there are some people that are in recovery. Even in recovery, there are people that are just sober. And let me tell you that there's not for 1 second would I want what they have what they're calling recovery, because they're miserable, they're disgusting. It's just horrible. And we have to see that for what it is also.
Okay. And that is, I mean, I've seen so many parallels of what you're sharing. And as we go into the break, I wanted to ask, some would say, oh, if you want something sweet to eat, but you're trying to, reduce your calories, your fat, that sweeter tooth that you have, you get something savory, something salty. So with recovery, the person that had some drug, whether it was alcohol or some other drug, decides, you know what, I'm not going to have that. I'm going to have a soda. I'm going to have something else, and they substitute it. What's your take on that?
I think it depends on what you're substituting it with, because cross addiction is a real thing, right?
Okay.
It's very easy for people to give up one addictive substance or behavior only to replace it with another one, which can be equally as harmful, right? But I mean, part of, getting into a place of recovery is like, okay, well, what did that substance do for you? Did it give you relaxation? Did it give you self-confidence? What was the hole inside of you that it was filling? And then how do you actually get that from something that doesn't impact your life in such a negative way?
Yeah. And this is where I think as we in the communities cross, the Caymans, recognize that this person who was living in this community has now relocated to another community because consciously they're trying to disassociate initially change the environment, they're changing their mindset, they're changing their approach, they're changing their lifestyle, so that they have a better chance of living that life that they would like. And we need to support them.
Yeah, we have to, and that's exactly why the halfway house was designed and put in place, right? Because we recognize the fact is that we did have people, many individuals, as a matter of fact, that was coming in and out of prison, and the revolving door just kept happening because they kept coming out, going back to the same environment, no structure, no support. I mean, the counseling center tried to do everything that they possibly could. Caribbean Haven tried to do everything that they could, and all the entities that was focusing on rehabilitation tried to do that. But what was missing was that link, that missing link of having a clean bed, some place where it's structured that one can then focus on their rehabilitation and take their time and gradually migrate back into society where they have an opportunity to look a job, have an opportunity to rebuild relationships with their family, their friends. All of this stuff is when we were designing the halfway house, was what we had to put in place, right, is to provide that opportunity for an individual actually seeking recovery.
All right. So after the break, let's talk about it and recognizing that as much as we've heard it, probably said it, have we embraced it? There but the grace of God go I. Right. And when we see, are we looking at ourselves? Are we seeing a reflection of our communities? Is our action, our word, helping or hindering, even when we're not consciously trying to do bad? Are we? Can we chat about it? And then, of course, there's a nice walk coming up.
I had a conversation yesterday with a guy about that particular.
Yeah, man. Yeah. It is. Yeah. Well, Brent and Raquel, thank you for the partnership. Thank you for this opportunity. And as we look at September, and Recovery Month, well, what roles are we playing? How are we affecting each other? So we invite our listeners to join us right after the break.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
Did you know that you can send money transfers to financial institutions anywhere in Jamaica with JN Money?
You mean I can send money straight to my account and cut out the middleman?
Yes, that's exactly what I mean. You send your own money to your own account, giving you peace of mind that the money is in your account.
JN Money Transfers to Financial Institution is another convenient service offered by JN Money. You can have this done from any JN Money location. Deposit your money straight to your account without the hassle of asking someone to do it for you. JN Money Transfers to Financial Institutions, making life easier.
Social media, X, formerly Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. Interact with our talk shows on YouTube. Download our official Radio Cayman app, or you can log on to our website, www.radiocayman.gov.ky. You can also add us to WhatsApp
on 925-3261.
All the latest information, breaking news, community events, and more. Radio Cayman. Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back. Thank you for joining us. And as we talk about Hope for Today Foundation, there's a 5K walk run coming up. And the last Sunday of this month, Brent Hides and Raquel Tobin joins us. And I'm hoping that as we, by extension, having you and others in our studios talking about recovery and substance use and abuse, that it doesn't cause people to go, oh, that again. But it's sort of like your favorite recipe. The more you make that, the less you have to rely on consulting the actual recipe. You've now not only committed it to memory, you've perfected the technique. You know that this particular pot at this particular setting does this thing this way, right? So the more we hear, the more we understand, the more we have empathy, the more we can relate, the more we care, the more we help. Mm-hmm. That's my prayer.
Well, we have to understand that an individual has to reach a point in their lives when the pain has gotten so severe, whether it's by way of hurting his family, hurting himself, or maybe having some sort of intervention from a family member. But for me, I don't worry about how they get into recovery, whether it's by the drug rehabilitation court, whether it's by being arrested. It doesn't matter to me once they get there. And we have to recognize the fact is that there's some people that are just so prideful. Mm-hmm. They may never seek recovery. They may never listen to what their family members are saying. I mean, yesterday I was having a conversation with someone, and there's someone that is well known in the community. He continues to let his pride get in the way of doing certain things in recovery. There's many suggestions that was given to this individual, but he refused to do it because of his pride.
Pride go before the fall?
Absolutely.
Yeah. People hearing that would probably say, well, gee, you should know better, but I wonder how many of us. Now, is that a thing that within our psyche, is that a psychological assessment there that you can render for us, Ms. Raquel?
Yeah, I mean, I think we all like to feel proud of ourselves, right? And one of the things we really don't like is we don't like feeling shame and embarrassment. And admitting that you have an addiction issue brings on intense feelings of shame and embarrassment for people, right? It's probably one of the hardest things that people have to face is admitting that they have a disease that they can't control. And because it is so stigmatized in our communities still, addiction is one of those things that brings on immense amounts of shame for people, right? And so we hold on to our pride because we don't want to admit something that we feel shame around. And I think that's part of, why I think it's important to be here and talking about recovery in our community is that we as a community have to support people who are struggling, right? Like it needs to be destigmatized. We need to go, this isn't an issue of pride. This isn't a choice. It's a disease, right? We know that it changes the brain. We need to destigmatize it and support people who are struggling with addiction to find their recovery.
We've increasingly over the years, and before I come back to you, Brent, from the medical, scientific, the actual, practice within your profession, we've heard it being referred to as a disease, a dis-ease, as it were. Do you think, A, the wider public accepts that? B, is it actually valid to call it that? But your thoughts, Ms. Raquel?
I think so. I think it's much easier. It's easier to call it a disease than the actual individual saying, hey, I'm crazy. So it's better to simply say, I just have a disease. I'm a little sick. I'm a little sick. I just have some work to do to arrest this issue. And that's a great way to look at it.
Okay.
Otherwise, now you say, I'm mad. Most society think we're mad anyway. Because we be walking up and down the road, bumming people, doing this, doing that. And if you ask the normal person, the person that probably think he's really normal, what do you think about that guy? They say he's crazy.
Yeah, so to expand on that, I don't think our society fully accepts that addiction is a disease. Many people still see it as a moral failing and a choice. Yes. But to be really clear, every major medical body, every major psychological body is crystal clear that addiction is a disease. We have irrefutable proof in scientific studies that it changes your brain in ways that make it very, very difficult for people to feel in control of making decisions with a substance or an addictive behavior for that matter.
And I asked that for two reasons. One, for us to appreciate that if that person had what we, the individual, might term as, a recognizable disease, it goes to the doctor, gets regular treatment, has taken a course of, medication, would be okay. But if we don't see this as such, our approach may be different. But secondly, it's also for emphasis and now validation why I say, drugs, and I include alcohol, any illicit narcotic. But people like to say drugs and alcohol as if they're different. But alcohol is a drug that leads to, alcoholism, which is a disease.
Yep.
And I think we are too quick and easy to accept that individual who may abuse one drug versus, that's not a hard drug. But their lives are being impacted, their families, their health, their financial status, their physical and emotional well-being. So we need to acknowledge that. Brent.
Well, when Raquel was talking at the beginning, I heard her mention something. And you really look at the guy that abuses drugs or the person that abuses drugs. And we look at that individual and probably never recognizing the trauma and the abuse that individual may have been through. And they continue to use drugs to medicate. And sometimes we just have to talk to that individual and try to reckon what does the drugs do for that particular individual.
Yeah.
And we have to understand the pain and the trauma and the abuse that they may have been through. So he have to medicate his pain somehow, but you have to learn to live eventually without the drugs.
Yeah.
But it's the stuff that happened before he probably started using the drugs.
In reflecting on our discussion, knowing that Ms. Raquel comes in and you bring the counseling, the psychology, that sort of scientific, approach, I was careful as how we do it. But one of the things that I'm challenged today and is really, really, really resonating in my spirit, and I'm challenged as to how to broach it, is not just the labels that we assign to people, but the ease with which our society, and this is my word, and I would really ask for guidance that I use it correctly, and maybe if there's a better term or whichever word, but we take advantage of them. We see the person who was hooked on some drug, and I don't think I need to be explicit, but we take advantage of them, Ms. Raquel. Or is that not happening in our society?
I can speak to that personally.
Okay.
It is something that is happening in our community every day.
Okay.
Individuals that are caught up into the grips of addiction are being abused physically. They're being treated as a cocaine slave at the times where they may end up working for hours.
Yeah.
And they may be paid $10 piece of cocaine rock.
Yeah, for 15 days of work.
Yes,
absolutely.
Yeah. They're being jackasses for a short term, very forward, to ride up and down from the drugstore to the restaurants to the shops to this to that, but the abuse is still going on.
Yeah.
So we look at there's just a different kind of abuse.
Yeah.
And if work that's supposed to be completed in particular certain amount of time for that $10 rock or that $15 rock, there may be physical abuse that may be brought on. So we look at it, the individual that are doing this type of slavery for cocaine is so broken, so beaten, and it's real shameful that it is happening in our society. But that's the nature of that world.
Yeah.
That's what that world is.
Yeah.
And that's what it comes down to, and that's why people like Raquel, people like myself that are working in the field of rehabilitation are saying life can be different. You can make the choices to do right, to live good. But the mental obsession too, to continue to use drugs, sometimes can be stronger than the actual work that they're willing to put in to find recovery. So that's another thing that we have to look at.
You want to add to that, Ms. Raquel?
Yeah, I would just add that women in our community that are addicted to substances are often victimized sexually as well, which is something that I think is easy to overlook. But we look at things like prostitution or solicitation, and we would all love to think that that doesn't go on here, but it does. And often that is driven by substances and drugs, and it's another way that we diminish the value of people struggling in our community and that they endure abuse.
So can I ask, as we come back from the break, and this is why these discussions are, to me, very important, because sometimes we don't want to look at what we've tried so hard to ignore. And I put us all in that category, may castigate and say, oh, that's them, that's their own doing, that's whichever, right? But that's somebody's daughter or son, somebody's father, mother. That somebody, right, is a person and is being sexually abused. We said to a fellow, won't share what he shared, and he reminded me, and this is when he said he was in his prime. Brent, when you play football, you were tall and muscular.
Still tall and muscular, just not so fit.
Yeah. This guy, him, and he's even bigger and stronger than that. But he was sort of diminished to but a mere stick because of the drugs and what he did.
Yeah.
And one day he promises he'll come tell the story. And I don't know how we would portray it on air because he doesn't need to be explicit for it to hit wounds, right? And this is what I'm asking us as a community, and this is Recover Month.
Well, I'll speak on that. One thing I always believe, Sterling Dwayne, is whatever the story, doesn't matter how good, how bad it is. And that's why you hear me talk about pride all the time.
Yeah.
You have to push away the pride and just think of the benefits that people could get from you sharing your story. Don't necessarily do it for you so much. Try to do it to help other people be able to identify that it is issues, there is drug issues, and they're for real. Yeah. It's real.
Well, and I'll take this, Citizen take the break, he shared that with a number of us, the majority of whom, rarely if at all drink, don't smoke anything. And he shared and he said, with tears that, he's telling, so don't ever believe that you can't get there. Don't ever forget, this is what I endured. And then when he points out to the people that we all know, their family, their friends, their former co-workers who went to school with them, and that they're being, like Ms. Raquel shared, sexually exploited in our communities right now. And we pass them by and turn our heads. That may be sobering and somber for some, but importantly, something that's significant that we better get a grip on because this society is being...
I always say don't laugh at anybody that you see maybe struggling with substance abuse. Because one of these days it just could be your child, your family member.
And the thing is that he got hooked because somebody thought it was funny to give him something. And there are some people out here who would do that to a young person. Let's pause and take that break. Yeah. When we come back, a few more minutes, and then, the news. Stay tuned.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Refer a friend and get $50 to spend when your friend or family member opens a personal account with Cayman National. From July 9th to September 30th, 2024, C&B customers can earn $50 for each referral who opens an individual or joint personal account. Earn up to $500 with a maximum of 10 referrals. Visit CaymanNational.com for more details on this promotion and follow us on social media for updates. Terms and conditions apply.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
A caring and community spirit, cherished family and cultural values. These are some of the things that still embodies the Caymanian way of life in the Eastern Districts today. Savannah Pharmacy, your neighborhood pharmacy, located in Countryside Shopping Village, is delighted to offer products and services of real value. Whether it's catering to your family's medical needs or carrying apparel, gifts, and beauty products, Savannah Pharmacy provides you with more than just prescriptions. Remember, they're always just around the corner with everything your family needs and convenient opening hours, including Sundays and holidays. Savannah Pharmacy. For more information, call 946-3336.
Prescription refills made easy at Savannah Pharmacy. WhatsApp your prescription refills to 929-5045.
The offices of dermatologist Dr. Wayne Porter will be taking appointments September 4th to the 7th at his Crew Road Clinic. Appointment slots are limited. Whether you're seeking advanced skincare, Botox, filler, cosmetic skin enhancements, or simply looking to reduce wrinkles, Dr. Wayne Porter offers a full-service dermatology and dermatological surgery practice. For more information, email Dr. Porter Cayman at gmail.com. That's drportercayman@gmail.com. Call 946-9020 to book your appointment today. That's 946-9020. Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thank you. And as we, in the month of September, talk about recovery from the Hope for Today Foundation, Brent Hayes and Ms. Raquel Toby. Did I say it right today?
Yep.
Yes.
Not Rachel? Raquel.
Yes.
They say laughter sometimes helps, through levity. We learn as we live, and there may be a little bit of, love in that, the agape love. And I wonder to some extent, when it comes to our community, are we lacking that agape love where, most of Mr. O.C. and every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday says, we are our brothers and our sisters' keeper. We draw alongside. And for some of us, we don't want, because we've learned, you're now enabling, so don't give them money. But sometimes we do. We need to make sure that they have a place to stay, want them to be safe, they need to have food. How do we help in our attempt to help that we're not hindering and facilitating? And I think there's a psychological definition to enabling. And then first Ms. Raquel and then Brent, if you would, on the side of the coin, because you've been very thankful and very public in helping us to appreciate the walk, right? How do we help Ms. Raquel without actually hurting?
I think, one thing that we all can do is trying to reduce our stigma by normalizing recovery.
Okay.
Right? Probably everyone knows someone who has struggled with addiction and is in recovery. I would be hard-pressed to believe that you don't know someone in your life who's in recovery. You may not know they're in recovery, but you know someone in recovery.
Yeah.
And so being someone who advocates for it is like, oh, it's normal. You don't have to go out to dinner and always order a drink. Right. And if you're going out with someone who has struggled with addiction and maybe they're not in recovery, maybe they're still struggling, you can show them, I can go to dinner and not order a drink, and it's okay for you to not drink. Right. It's okay for us to just socialize and connect, and it doesn't always have to be centered around substances.
Okay. With that, just quickly, is the person who has that, a challenge, should that person say to you, in case you don't know, hey, listen, or should you know? And if you don't, how do you know? Because, there's some of us who will sit down and it's just a little bit of drink, because we order a particular meal. Some of us won't order anything, not even the water, because we don't have anything to drink with our foods. People make judgment calls, but in that case, if you don't know, how do you know? How do you ask? Does the person tell you?
Well, sometimes you can follow people's lead, right?
Okay.
If they don't order a drink, you're like, oh, maybe they don't drink. You know what? Maybe I don't drink tonight either.
All right.
But one of the things when I work with clients in recovery, I always encourage them, if it's a trusted person, if it's someone who's important in your life, who supports you, tell them about this.
Okay.
Be honest with them, gain their support, because even, many times I'll have clients that are like, I'm okay with other people drinking around me. And often people get to a place in their recovery where that is true for them. But in the beginning, that is rarely true. In the beginning, it is almost always a struggle, and it's really helpful for families and friends to go, oh, you know what? I know this person's going through that. I'm okay. I'm solidarity. I don't need to drink. It's not a big deal for me.
Yeah. I mean, well, Brent, I mindful of time, but
I haven't thought about having a drink for a very, very long time. I don't drink. Drinking was not my favorite high, to be honest. So it wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
But I've never thought about having a drink for a very long time.
Yeah.
I also have never thought about having or smoking cocaine for a very long time. Of course, this is after coming up on 16 years of continuous recovery. But what I've always looked at, Sterling Dwayne, the way I've looked at it was, it's not for me to really decide whether someone has a problem with alcohol or someone has an issue with whatever. It's for them to bring it to our attention, because if they feel like going out and having a drink, then that's on them.
Right.
It's not for me to tell them not to have one. I won't do that. If they have an issue with drinking or any kind of substance, it's for them to actually talk to, like Raquel was talking about, talk to the friend, let the friend know what's going on, where they're at, and then together we can come up with a plan.
Okay.
But too many times, because I don't drink, I'm telling someone not to drink.
Yeah. I mean,
and I don't do that. I kind of leave it up to the individual to bring it to our attention, and we'll see exactly where it goes.
As you were sharing, I'm thinking and I love dessert. If it was left to me, you'd eat that first. And then if you got space, you have your meal, right? But that person that is training for an event, you may not have that other thing because maybe they want to, lose weight for, the event coming up, the wedding, or is training and wants to manage to have a healthier dietary choices, right? You would probably not order it. But even if that person's not doing that, and you have dessert, the other person next to you, I'll have a little too. So that's what I was asking, if we are conscious and considerate and aware, we don't have that, whatever that drink is, the coffee with the liqueur after, or, that little bit of whatever it is, during the meal. So knowing can actually help us to be more helpful.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
See, if you don't ask, you don't learn.
Yes.
All right. I know we're going to have another discussion, but Brent,
Yes.
as we wrap up today's conversation.
Yeah, I just want to thank the Minister of Finance and Mr. Andre Ebanks and his government for recognizing what Hope for Today Foundation is trying to do as a community. I can never say enough about Raquel and all the
And it's usually all good. I mean,
all the people that are involved. We're having this walk on the 29th of September, starting at 7 Mile Public Beach. It's absolutely free to the public. Anyone can come out and join, run, win some trophies. They can buy a raffle ticket, win some great prizes. There are 3 staycations up for grabs this year.
Yeah.
So we have 2 at the Holiday Inn, 1 at the West Inn. There's dinner for 2 at Lobster Pot, Calypso Grill, Rackham's, Morgan's, PD's, Power Sailing Rides, Foster Shopping Sprees. I also want to thank Mr. Wood of Foster for his generosity and allowing us to use his supermarkets. I mean, I think this walk last year, we had 200 and odd people that come out, and we're hoping to possibly double that this year. Recovery is alive and well in the Cayman Islands, and the entities, anyone seeking recovery can find recovery here.
Yeah.
I hear a lot of people talk about going overseas and going abroad. I want you to remember that when you leave the Cayman Islands to seek recovery abroad, remember that you're taking yourself with you. So you can find recovery right here.
You have support, but it's for us to be supportive.
Yes.
Well, Ms. Raquel, if you wish, we would like to leave the closing remarks to you.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm really grateful to be here today to talk about recovery, to encourage our community to embrace people in recovery, and to get to work with Hope for Today is It's some of the most meaningful work I do. I really enjoy the groups I run there. It's an incredible organization. So yeah, I just, I want to encourage you guys to come out to the walk, show support for those in recovery. And I agree with Brent wholeheartedly. Recovery is alive and well here, making it more known, destigmatizing it, saying like we're a community that supports recovery. You don't have to hide this is part of the message and why that walk is important.
All right. Well, we had another discussion the other on, but anytime, anywhere that we can help our people.
Absolutely.
Have a great weekend.
I got a special T-shirt for you too.
This time I want it. All right. We're going to pause, and the Honorable Deputy Premier will be our guest in the next segment, so stay tuned.
Yes, he was just waving at me outside saying.
This is the People's Radio Station. Radio Cayman in the Cayman Islands. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines. Local, regional, international news.
The Headline News is brought to you by Kirk Market and Health Services Authority.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. If you're planning to be on the road this weekend, the National Roads Authority says there are some roadworks planned. On Saturday, the 7th, between 7 p.m. and 5 a.m., the westbound lanes of the Linford-Pearson Highway between the CUC roundabout and the Alamo roundabout will be closed for essential paving works. Of course, that does depend on the weather. The NRA says it appreciates your patience and cooperation. In international headlines, a 14-year-old boy and his father were in court for the first time, charged in the murder of 4 people in a gun attack at a Georgia high school. Colt Gray was arrested shortly after the shooting Wednesday at his school, Appalachia High in Winder, near Atlanta. He faced court in person today, his hands and ankles shackled, to face 4 counts of first-degree murder. The judge clarified he would not be facing execution after first stating the maximum penalty was death. His father, 54-year-old Colin Gray, is charged with second-degree murder, manslaughter, and child cruelty, the most severe charges against a parent over a U.S. school shooting. A UK watchdog makes a provisional determination that Google is using anti-competitive practices to dominate the market for online advertising technology. The Competition and Markets Authority says the potentially unlawful behavior could be harming thousands of UK publishers and advertisers, and accuses Google of preventing rivals from competing on a level playing field with its own tech for the billions of pounds spent by UK businesses on online advertising. Google said the watchdog's findings were flawed and that it would respond. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, I'm April Cummings with your latest headlines.
Radio Cayman. More news available at www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
The Health Services Authority would like to thank you, the Cayman community, for voting us the Best of Cayman Islands 2024 in 13 medical categories. As the largest and longest healthcare provider in the Cayman Islands, we have been caring for you for many generations, helping the people of our islands live longer, healthier, and happier lives. At HSA, we are committed to caring for you. For more information, visit hsa.ky or call 949-8600.
Born in Watering Place, Cayman Brac, on the 8th day of July, 1936, Captain Fred Elman Scott was the 5th child born to Nalio and Vera Scott. Captain Scott worked the seas for over 52 years, a career which saw him span the global currents. In 1953, he joined his first ship, the Beretta, a local cargo vessel, signing on as deck boy, working his way up to bosun. In 1955, he joined National Bulk Carriers, working his way up to able-bodied seaman. In 1959, he signed on the Ore Meteor to go to Marine School in New York, attaining a 3rd mate's license. He joined the bulk petrol as third officer, where during one voyage he was solely responsible for using Morse lamp signaling to save a sister ship which had run aground. He continued to flourish and attained second mate, chief mate, master mariner, and radio operator licenses. In October of 1969, he took a job on oil exploration ships as a captain in Brazil. Captain Scott would later move from Brazil, where he spent the next 20 years piloting cruise ships and tankers in Grand Cayman.
Now, more than ever, supporting your immune system is crucial to helping your body fight off illnesses like the common cold, the flu, and COVID-19. At ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road and in Boddentown, we carry all the essential vitamins and minerals to help support your immune system and improve your overall health. Some of our top immunity support picks are vitamin C, vitamin D, zinc, elderberry, and quercetin, or the popular 7-in-1 immunity support. Our pharmacists are always on hand to help guide you and answer any questions. Visit ValueMed Pharmacy on Walkers Road or Boddentown. Live happy, live healthy with ValueMed Pharmacy.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us. And grateful for this opportunity to be reminded of how, not just easy, but how accommodating, our political directorate is, allowing almost unfettered access to the public, especially through Radio Cayman. So to the Honorable Deputy Premier, welcome, sir. Pleasant good afternoon to you.
Pleasant good day to you. Pleasant good day to Cayman and to Caymanians overseas.
And it's crucial, as I quickly, sir, just ask for forgiveness as I look at my messaging board here to make sure I didn't miss. I sent something across to ask of you, but we'll get to that in a minute. We live in an interesting sort of time in human history, and I think increasingly we see Cayman as this speck, and some of us say that with the greatest of disrespect and the disparaging, and others say that and recognizing that, yeah, it's disrespect, but there's a greatness, both and importantly in humility, accomplishment, right, but also contribution. So the rich seafaring maritime heritage that we had, here are people who left with little, or no formal education, but demonstrated that they were academically competent, they technically were proficient, but they had the wherewithal that whatever they did with excellence, such that it serves as an example. And then I fast forward to today and go, you know what, let's continually build on that, because that's what makes the trips out to the sandbar with the fellow who went to school with us, who would have preferred on any day be out fishing as opposed to maybe some philosophy class. But likewise, the individual who sits, before some tribunal and advocates most strenuously, for that position. We're great people. We just need to be reminded. So you and your teams or at your ministry doing a great job. Just the name alone, investment in innovation, social development. So thank you for your time. To our listeners, the Honorable Deputy Premier would only be with us until 2 p.m. Full schedule. Defer to you as the path we take.
Well, thank you, and thank you for making time. As I mentioned to OC when I was on For the Record this morning, the premise of appearing is at the beginning of the week, I looked and saw that I had a heavy travel schedule this month of September, and thought a number of the trips that are going to have engagements, I thought this is useful information to the public to sort of explain why essentially almost 3 out of 4 weeks of the month is the minister away. What's he working on? So I said, this is really good to convey. So I know it's last minute, but please, ministry, go and see if OC and my cousin could make some time. So I'm really glad. I don't know if anybody got squeezed. I apologize or bumped up the schedule, but
they were all accommodating, sir.
I thought it was really useful. And then, so that's mainly travel side is financial business. On the investment, innovation, social development, when I talked to the communications officers in that ministry, so what's going on? Remember now, there's a whole term of work that's now starting to come to fruition. Each of those subjects could be its own show, but at least you should give an overview of what we project to hopefully complete or substantively complete in Q this year. So I said, okay, so then that's the reason to go to Radio Cayman twice in one day.
Well, we're glad that we can accommodate the honor to do so, but it speaks to my first point in that most and probably many societies, you don't have that access. You don't have the opportunity to be updated. It's not anything other than a public being informed, but also engage and in such a way that they can immediately take on board. If you subscribe to any other jurisdiction, their parliamentary processes, the policies that are put forward by many of their pundits are only impactful after the fact. We know, well, what's up, why is it up, and wait a minute, we can help them navigate it, help to be the drivers. So this is crucial.
Thank you, sir. So we could start by, and there's a logical flow, I think, the upcoming travel. So I'm on the BA tomorrow night to London, and the purpose of that trip is threefold. Cayman Finance, the Peak Financial Services Association, is a roundtable for financial services stakeholders in London. It's always good to take on board feedback and engage because each region is different. They did one over there when we opened our Asia office in Singapore. The view, the products, the landscape is completely different. Prior to that, they did one in New York. The views, the products, the landscapes, completely different. Even though they're in the same services, their perspectives are different based on their region, based on the businesses that they're in. And businesses that they either crafted or honed that are more their specialty. So same goes for London. Let's have a roundtable discussion. What do they like? What do they see on the horizon? How can we put in Cayman? Very useful information. A funds conference I'll be speaking at, which is organized by Maple's London office and engage with their stakeholders. And then in addition, engaging with UK MP. So Dr. as our representative to UK, Ms. Campbell, who's Deputy Representative Financial Services to EU, arranged a variety of meetings with UK MPs. Now remember, this is a new government. This will be changed since the Conservatives. So it would be good to just take early stock of you and how they see Cayman. They're in charge. We'll also be engaging with Conservative MPs as well because we want to be neutral and hear both sides because there's also a lot that I'm sure they would have learned now that they're in the opposition. That's Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. And then Thursday, take the train with myself, Miss Julie Campbell, and we go to Brussels. They also, too, had an election. So it'd be interesting to engage with EU officials where there's not a burning issue now, just engage. What are the policy priorities going into 2025? How do they see things? What are the impacts on international financial services? We've developed a lot of key relationships now, folks that we can actually just sit down and just talk to. It doesn't feel like you're just pressing and knocking at the door and hoping you get a meeting. It's actually now even-keeled conversation. Really, really important and actually helps folks to actually explain our financial services products, which sometimes in certain corners is misunderstood.
Now, that trip, as you said, 3 weeks out of 4, you're off and on, and many people don't always appreciate this working trip isn't a vacation. Even if you own your own business, you go into a trade show, and it's a lot of walking and talking, very little resting.
And even though there's a structure in place for individuals to act for you, but that's at a ministerial level and at a, say, deputy premier level. But nobody can really act for you to be the MP for West Bay South. So you still have to catch up with Cayman and messages when you're done London time. So it is not a vacation, to put it the way that you did.
No, it's not a vacation. And I don't say that, without actual understanding. And it'll be a discussion for another time when the political sort of season kicks off. But if through you, I may be allowed to make a political statement, this is why I'm saying to our public, as we look at our political process, maybe it is time to consider, evaluate it, see if it makes sense, whether when we elect people who end up in cabinet, that's on a national level, so that given that a man, according to our scriptures, can't serve two masters, as an elected, let me ask you, my understanding is that as an elected member of cabinet, you have the constitutional responsibilities of your minister and the portfolios, but you also have the constituency responsibilities, and you're trying to serve, two interests. They may not be competing, but they certainly will compete for your time. So how do you do that? You just shared you're going to be in London, different time zone. Those constituencies need to be responded to.
Sir Lindsay Hoyle, who was here a few weeks ago, the House of Commons, Speaker of the House, he didn't say it to me on this trip because I've known him since I was in Dr. Tasha's role.
Yeah.
So when I was in London. And I asked him about that because he's been successively re-elected.
Yeah.
And I said, now you're juggling speaker. I mean, this is big. I mean, their parliament is huge, over 600 members. And he looked at me and he said, son, MP is what comes after my name.
Yeah.
It doesn't say Sir Lindsay Hoyle Speaker. It says Sir Lindsay Hoyle MP.
Yeah.
So he said, that is your first job.
Right.
You can't do anything else unless you have that job.
Yeah.
But to your point, there's still a competition of time.
Yeah.
And you have to try to juggle as much as you can.
But my understanding under their Westminster model, you know, they normally they would not put up someone who is speaker to be, you know, sort of, it's an uncontested seat.
Mm-hmm.
You know, a different landscape. Don't necessarily know I subscribe to it all, but my view is that the other reason why we would consider, you know, that would be on a national level, should we vote for those? No, those are political statements. I say it publicly, I say it privately, but only on the premise that it actually might be beneficial to the country, first and foremost, and actually get more out of that person who's serving in that role, because now you can focus. You know, you playing on a football team and you're the goalkeeper. Your coach isn't asking you to go up and score goals unless it's a corner or a set piece of sorts, or you're down and it's the last few minutes. Doesn't matter if you lose by 1 goal or 10, you're still losing in a few minutes left. Hey, all hands on deck, everybody forward. But that's a different role, right? You're in the goal to do one role, right? That's my premise, you see. Method to my approach.
But in the meantime,
yes,
we have the system that we have. So when I return on the 14th or 15th, I'm around for about 36 hours or so, and then I would get back on a plane to New York.
Mm-hmm.
That trip has a slightly different focus.
Mm-hmm.
So I was mentioning to OC this morning that the Cayman Islands financial services industry has historically had what's called reinsurance. So insurers buying insurance from another insurer as a business line here. But in the last couple of years, it has really picked up for a number of reasons. We're now seeing growth in the license applications and the approvals.
Mm-hmm.
I'm happy to shout out again that the head of division of the insurance division in SEMA is Cara Ebanks, young, bright Caymanian, has had a succession plan, great story. She's been embraced by the industry, leading it in this regulatory field. And she's saying, Minister, that I can show you the numbers. The license in this area is really growing. That's also then providing jobs locally as these reinsurance companies set up here. There are young Caymanians now who are actuaries or actually in the insurance industry who are now getting new opportunities by these businesses being here.
Mm-hmm.
So the Cayman Islands Reinsurance Association, which we call CIRCA, they had for the first time in Cayman's history, a reinsurance conference here called Reconnect a few months ago. They were now replicating a smaller version of that in New York to really now start to capture those stakeholders. I believe when I had a prep call with them earlier this week, they believe that 2/3 of the audience are going to be New York or United States. Only 1/3 of the audience is going to be Cayman supporters, financial services to support the event. And out of the 2/3 that are non-Cayman residents, they believe the lion's share of them didn't come to reconnect. So it's not like you're preaching back to the same audience.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's a set of individual meetings with a number of those stakeholders who are either interested in or applying for a license or have gotten one and have questions of where we see the future of this going, the international standards that need to be hit to make sure that it continues moving and growing. After that, I then switched gears, and local firm Ogier, headed up by Caymanian Jimmy Bergstrom, they're having a funds conference on the Thursday of that week. And then I'll be speaking at that, and then also engaging with New York financial services stakeholders.
Mm-hmm.
Coming home for about a week, so that would be the week of the 23rd of September. And then I rejoin Gene DaCosta, who is now our rep to Asia, on a very interesting trip. We won't be stopping back in Singapore. He's there now, pounding the pavement. But he discovered a very interesting opportunity where we're seeing a number of transactions coming out of Japan and using Cayman vehicles.
Mhm.
And there's a sort of marquee key conference event called Japan Week, in which we have different events that we're going to speak at so that we can showcase Cayman Financial Services. And then I think there are a few industry associations that have side events that Gene has been able to link with and arrange. Very exciting time. The market of Asia is very different. The economy of Japan is picking up, and they do seem to have, in particular, a set of investment funds where they have a liking and a sort of a loyalty to the Cayman product. So excited to meet with Gene then. And as I said this morning, when I come back from that trip, I really want that to be the end for the term of most of my overseas travel. I think I've put in the air miles. It's now time to focus on items on the ground. There may be one other trip that the Premier may want me to accompany her on, which is in November. And that is the annual meeting of all the overseas territories with the UK. You know it is called JMC, Joint Ministerial Council. And that is where the UK government engages with all of the OTs on a wide range of issues. And then you get specific one-on-one meetings between each OT and the UK OT minister. This one is going to be important because this will be the first time in a while that it will be chaired by a Labour minister. For many, many years now,
14 years, huh?
it's been the Conservatives. So it's almost a decade and a half dealing with the same sort of philosophy and approach. This is a very different approach. So it's an important meeting to go to because this will be more formal. So the meetings I'm having next week, that's sort of just an informal sort of checking in and touching base, that will then give us some feedback on how to prepare ourselves for the more formal JMC meeting.
Yeah. And as we read into the TLDs and sort of protract to our own coming general elections, and then just generally looking at as we extrapolate the next government, whatever that looks like, there's a level of continuity so that we're passing the baton and continue building on, those bridges that we've cemented. So it's crucial.
It's crucial. So that won't be till November, if Madam Premier, I believe it's the middle of November, maybe the 18th, 19th of November, but hopefully on the ground in October. To focus on, if you go to a commercial break, some of the exciting projects that we have that we're going to try to really accelerate.
Right. So we talk about that when we come back.
Let's do that.
You gave us thank you for being so candid and the disclosure relative to the travel, so we understand your absences and you're hiding out in the bluff in the back. So we'll pause quickly, just take an early break, come back and invite some calls as well, and you share. All right, Honorable Deputy Premier, so stay tuned for Talk Today.
Discover your dream home with Cayman National's home loan. Get up to 95% financing, repayment up to 40 years, and just a 0.5% commitment fee. Your interest rate? Depending on your risk factors, it'll be fixed or variable. Plus, you get a pre-approved credit card. This is a limited time offer. Dial 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Your dream home starts with a vision, and often inspiration is at the heart of that vision. Brand Source Home Gallery's in-house designers are here to help bring your vision to life. Whether you're remodeling or building a new home, Brand Source Home Gallery is your one-stop solution. Explore their kitchen cabinets, sinks, faucets, bath fixtures, tubs, vanities, and more. Let Brand Source's designers help and inspire you with your next project. Call 623-5000 and schedule an appointment with a design expert at Brand Source Home Gallery, Dorsey Drive, Industrial Park, serving Cayman for 50 years.
Creative Fashion School is open and ready for registration. Come and learn a lifetime skill. Sewing classes will start in September. Our after-school sewing program, your choice of 1 day per week, Monday to Friday, Monday or Tuesday. Join us for the advanced and pattern making class. Wednesday or Thursday, you can register for basic sewing, dressmaking, and tailoring classes. Come Saturday, it is time for home decor class. Don't forget to inquire about private classes. Sign up or call 546-6962 or 928-0344. Creative Fashion School is located on David Foster Drive, Buccaneer Warehouse, Unit 216, upstairs. Creative Fashion School.
Radio Cayman News. 2 people charged with human smuggling appear for trial.
Forced the Ethiopians to work on the boat and were kept in an area that was padlocked.
The Joy Marie Tibbetts Adult Training Center is a place of hope.
Very active tropical wave that just crossed the Lesser Antilles.
Radio Cayman. Your voice, your choice for today's biggest news.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back and thanks for joining us, and thanks to the Honorable Deputy Premier for sitting with us. And to our listeners, we will open the phone lines up in a bit, but given not just the press and itinerary and the time constraints, have the Deputy Premier share with us and then get through sort of what you have to share so that the wider public can be informed generally, and then maybe in a bit the callers as well. But thank you very much again, sir, for your time.
No, thank you. And we left off on the travel.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the things that I'll be showcasing on the travel, which is in the news today, is congratulations to the country for the Monetary Authority registering over 30,000 investment funds in this country. I mentioned to see this morning that is among a number of the known reputable international financials towards most of numbers.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very specific to say this is a country achievement, a historic achievement. This goes back to over 1990s, in which the mutual funds law was then, and also industry pioneering a product, and then it moving from strength to strength. SEMA now over 25 years old. You have those cutting edge practitioners who are taking what the pioneers left them, and core government working to promote the products with financial services. It really is a shining example of what the country can do when that tripartite relationship works.
Mm-hmm.
That you can do something which goes back to your opening comments of we may be small, but we do rank, and in many areas above our weight.
Yeah.
And one of them is investments. So congratulations to the country, congratulations to industry, congratulations to the regulator and
Thank
everybody
you.
in the ministry.
Yeah, thank you for highlighting the work with the Monetary Authority, and without question, Mr. Smith over at the Civil Aviation and Mr. Walton over at Cayman Shipping, MAC has a lead in the industry globally, and yet that speaks those 2 things to the aviation and the maritime heritage. We are global leaders and we punch above our weight. Mr. Dalmy will be proud. He coached well. We just need to carry that with pride and start letting people who don't know anything say foolishness. I know you're polite and diplomatic, sir, so you won't say it that way. But that's what's happening, right?
And I mean, look around, right? So you have Managing Director Cindy Scotland leading the top regulated financial services regulator in the country, and globally respected on top of that.
Mm-hmm.
And the names that you just mentioned, Mr. Joel Walton, Mr. Richie Smith, I think, if memory serves, 60% of the world's yachts are registered under the Cayman Islands Shipping Registry flag.
Yep.
It's extraordinary.
And this is something that people don't understand. You could be looking for quantity, but like everything else, quality matters, right? And they have not just the respect and the credibility, but they have to design and define, the regulatory landscape globally.
Mm-hmm.
And we need to showcase us. So thank you for highlighting, the good work. And as you take your travels, we take the Cayman brand.
And then think about the knock-on effect of that.
Mm-hmm.
Mr. Joel running a top-notch organization. Every time there's a staff function, the staff seem happy, encouraged. Same thing with the CAA.
Mm-hmm.
In SEMA, they're trying to continue to attract Caymanian talent.
Mm-hmm.
That then brings in resources to the country, job opportunities to the country, scholarships to the country. So this is really an industry that has grown and blossomed, and each now subsector is almost could be its own show.
Yeah. Well, something that we've had with SEMA in the past, and maybe, we'll continue and see where we go. So thanks again highlighting that, and we want to be mindful of your time. To our callers and listeners, when you wish to engage, we'll open it up in a bit just to provide the Honourable Deputy Premier as much opportunity to share with the listeners as to what's unfolding.
So, if I could switch to the sister ministry,
yes,
Investment, Innovation, and Social Development.
Mm-hmm.
One again to highlight a culmination of work for the term is in October or towards the end of 2022, primary legislation for a digital ID. We've been working on the regulations after that. There was a prototype card that was given to caucus to look at its design features in terms of the color, the background for it. You need to take a break?
No, sir. We just remind our callers that we'll take calls in a bit.
Yeah.
They line up. You're popular today, man. Must be the purple.
But now the cards are here, about 20,000 of them in a secure location. The system is nearly ready. The draft regulations are almost ready to go to caucus and cabinet for approval for national ID.
Thank you.
And under immigration status, as I made OC do this morning, what do you see?
Respiro. Oh, sorry. Some people come to chat. And it's not even Photoshop. You look.
No, that's me.
Man, your lineage produced good genes, huh? Handsome mug you got there, sir.
More importantly, immigration status, Caymanian.
Yeah. Okay.
And so now we'll hopefully move the country to a new stage in which a Caymanian can have one document in their hands that signify an evidence that they are Caymanian. And it's open to all residents. The card will be free. There may be a small renewal fee in 5 years. It's every 5 years. But it really could then uplift identification, ease of doing business with government, give you back time. It takes time to go to these departments, show ID documentation, 6 or 7 pieces that you might have to carry at one time. The time it takes to sit in traffic to go back and forth. Come with an app for those who are technologically inclined. Really now has the opportunity to uplift the digital nature of the country.
You have 20,000. You say all residents. So, very specifically, who is that card for? Is it all in Sunder? I mean, who's eligible to get it? Who will get it? Who's it for?
Anyone who's resident here is eligible for it.
Okay.
Who can get it because it's voluntary is who wants it.
Okay.
I suspect, as I mentioned to OC this morning, the take-up will probably follow the lines of those when the legislation that was being passed was in supportive of it. Older persons who sometimes don't have an ID were quite supportive, if you remember, during the discussions and the consultations. You'll have civil servants. You'll have those in commerce. You'll have potentially students. So those there'll be a website set up to be able to register and show your interest. But hopefully by the end, if all is approved by caucus and cabinet, by the end of the year, there will be a preliminary group, say of about 100, just make sure that the software works. And then it says take up and then open it up for more.
Okay. So with the digital ID, and please share as much as you can at this time, yours said Caymanian. And you say it's open to all who are legally here. So there are probably many categories, but 3 come to mind. Those who are, I call them citizens. Maybe there's a different legal term. There are those who are here on work permit. Then there are those who have PR, permanent residency. All 3 of those categories can apply and be granted.
Correct. Because if you notice, it says immigration status.
Yeah.
So whatever your immigration status is in law.
Yeah.
Similar to a passport.
Right.
Your immigration status is here.
So on that, for the work permit holder, it'll say work permit holder.
Something to that effect.
Yeah.
It might not say that exact wording,
But
it'll indicate
it'll
that.
indicate.
Yeah.
And the permanent resident immigration will be
Permanent resident is permanent resident.
Okay. What are some of the things that one would need to provide in order to get that? The work permit holder is probably easy, but just share with us.
They're there, but the documentation that you are Caymanian is what you have to provide. Now, what that does is presents an opportunity, because there are individuals who have not quite been acknowledged yet. And that's a category that presents a very interesting opportunity, where we're looking to partner with Border Control and Labor to be able to put through a process to now regularize those persons so they can be formally acknowledged as Caymanians. So now you hear those stories where folks have to go back and forth, and how do I get acknowledged? I'm Caymanian, I have to walk around with a letter.
Yeah.
This now provides us an opportunity to rectify that.
Okay, so birth certificate and some other things. But in my case, and if everybody's offended, they tell me so that I understand why they're offended and can either apologize appropriately or defend the position. I will not go down to work and give them anything for them to give me a piece of paper signed by anybody that says I'm a Caymanian. Many have. That's just, and I borrow that from the courage that Dr. Steve McPhee shared. That's absolutely asinine and offensive. That's my personal view. But I want something that says I'm a citizen, and every country should have that. But a piece of paper to give them the same documents that I provided to get a voter's ID.
And this is exactly what we're trying to cut through.
Okay, great.
So that you would have this to show you're Caymanian.
Okay, so the work permit holder then, with respect, sir, when the application for the work permit is granted or renewed, would that automatically be provided to that person that says that person now has this thing?
So once they have the data set to prove who they are, because this doesn't work if you can't identify who this is, who Andre Ebanks is.
Yes.
So let's just pick a name, Bobby Brown, work permit holder, has given the identification documents, and you can prove that that's who that person is and what their immigration status is, they'd be eligible to apply for the card.
Right, but granted, but would it be then something that we could do immediately? On the application for the work permit, once it's granted, or the renewal, this document, this card, is then given to the person, right, as part of, because the person can apply for it voluntarily. Should it be then that this is now what is returned to the person with the work permit being granted? Should that be also be immediately and automatically?
So your question is whether or not it should be mandatory.
Well, it would be by default, right? They would get, because in a work permit application, what I understand is that you apply for it, is granted, you get a piece of paper back saying you have a work permit, but the person is living and working in Cayman, other than a driver's license or some other ID. If work decides to do an inspection, or the person needs to go somewhere for ID, they provide this thing, which is hopefully very legit, not as easy to forge. Should that, when the piece of paper is given, say, yep, your permit has been renewed, should this be also be accompanying that renewal?
So again, your question is whether it should be mandatory.
Okay, let's say that. Yeah.
So this came up in the discussion, the consultation, and it was one of the things that was debated fiercely. So at the moment, it is voluntary, but it doesn't mean that it can't grow to be mandatory.
Okay, I'm not going to belabor. I was thinking enforcement, auditing. Work decides, for whatever reason, there's a safety issue. They want to be polite and professional, and they go to a job site and they ask for ID. It can be easily established. Bobby Brown on the way works hard. Have a small window that you can come and present it, right? But if you do, it's there, and most of us will carry it for many reasons.
Correct.
Should this, again, if we want to use mandatory, it should just be part of the package that is then presented to the successful applicant on the grant or renewal.
Should the country want to move in that direction, I'm open to it.
I don't see why we wouldn't, but okay.
But this was, as you remember, this was one of the points that went back and forth. So
they make it harder. Okay.
So
and then how?
It's like, to move to that, I don't necessarily know that at the time when we were having the bill, we objected to that.
So one more thing I got to do when I become governor. Let me fix that.
So go back. But the thing is, and on a serious point, the point I was making during the bill debate is that I believe that even where we made the modification for it to be voluntary, that the organic take-up, because of the usefulness of the card, will actually grow to that.
Right. But I think there, with the greatest of deference to you, individual, but also the position, I think we're conflating it in that it's voluntary, but we're talking about someone who, I liken it to you have now applied for something, whatever that thing is. Maybe you ordered something, you want to get it delivered to you. This is similar to that. You now have been granted a work permit, or it's been renewed. You have that somewhere. This should just be one of the accompanying documents, so to speak, that establishes the process, verifies it. It's not about the person voluntarily making the application independently. This is about part of the renewal process. When you renew your driver's license, right, or your car license, you get back something. It's not voluntary. They give it back to you. Because if you don't have that certificate to say your card is there, the police will stop you and say, well, wait a minute, where's that certificate of, roadworthiness? It's not voluntary. It's part of the package that you paid for that you get.
So there's no conflation,
okay,
and there's actually no debate.
Okay,
completely open to it.
Okay,
but if you remember correctly, this was one of the points, and then yours was one of the shows that highlighted this.
Yep.
The country can move to that, but the important thing is the technology is there, the card is there.
Yeah.
The country wants to take the next step to the points that you're making. It will be there.
Yeah.
So when we made the modification for it to be involuntary, at least now there's a base to at least start the card.
Yeah.
There can be evolutions to get to the stage that you're talking about, so that we can get there over time. But we couldn't do it without the legislation or the card actually being there.
Second part, and we're going to have, this is where your intellect helps us to have these discussions. With the card, now a person has a card. One immediate benefit is identification. It's an official form of ID that should be acceptable places. It's not international. It's not a travel document. It doesn't replace your passport.
No.
Okay. But it's within the country, allowing you to identify you and be identified.
Mm-hmm. Eventually, because of the barcode at the back, which is at the passport grade, could eventually grow to that.
Okay. So in the interim, what sort of information is contained in that card? What sort of uses would come from, having that card? What's the benefit of it, other than that first primary one?
What was the first primary?
Okay, yeah. You have the card now, and our driver's license is a form of ID. A passport is a form of ID. This hopefully will, merge into that. But
correct.
A person that has that, other than shows your immigration status, what other benefit is there? What are
so
the
the card
benefits?
would then have the ability to store the other cards. So you don't have to carry around all the other cards.
Okay.
Driver's license, voter ID. In addition to that, say you want to move banks voluntarily. Now you have to pick up all your due diligence documents and then take them all the way down if you're switching between one retail bank to another. With the application and the software behind this, you'll be able to click and say, I'm happy for new bank to have my data, and it just transferred over without you having to take the physical steps. So this helps you to alleviate those physical time-consuming steps with the ease of software. So if you remember correctly, during the bill debate, the example that I gave was Blockbuster to Netflix. So what this then provides is efficiency of doing business. So rather than having to go back to Blockbuster to drop off the recording, the tape,
rewind it too,
and then rewind it, and then come back, or you were late and have to drive back and forth. Now you do all that from your sofa with Netflix.
Right.
That's what this provides. It gives you time and efficiency of doing business with who you would like to do business with.
Right. And that'll be another show that we can explore so that people appreciate the impact of it. But now, using the banking example, there's 2 pieces of official ID, I think, that are required. Will this one piece suffice?
That's exactly the conversation that we're having with the Bankers Association. So this will be the one ID. Now, I would say this. When we get to the actual rollout, if caucus and cabinet approve the regulations, there'll be a whole show just on this.
Yeah.
So remember at the outset of the show, this was to give a flavor for all of the projects that are happening. So there's still more we have to get to with social development.
Yeah.
But each of these topics can be their own show.
And they will be.
All right. And I look forward to your commentary there.
You will, sir. Through you, let's...
So that's there, but we're a natural extension of that I really, really want to get in, because next month is Older Persons Month.
Yeah.
And we've been working hard with the Older Persons Council to do a 2.0 to the Older Persons Act. Great piece of landmark legislation, but needs a bit more teeth.
Yeah.
And so we're working, if you know Miss Lucille, you know Miss Alice Mako, they've been following up and then working in close collaboration with the ministry to now enhance the Older Persons Act, provide a vehicle or an entity within the act called an Older Persons Tribunal that can actually look at complaints. Because I mentioned on OC Show, it's tough to admit these things, but we do have older person abuse. And sometimes those complaints don't arise at a level where it's necessarily go to the police department and may be more serious than necessarily for a social worker, but there needs to be an avenue to sort of channel these complaints and have older persons who are trained in the field to be able to adjudicate or determine these matters. On the other end of the spectrum, the Children's Act has not been updated since 2012. A whole range of safeguarding issues, if you think about the last 12 years, have come about, where we're now trying to complete enhancements to that piece of legislation. And then in addition to that, we're also going to modernize the adoption legislation, which anyone out there who has ever adopted before, it's a very long, grueling process that we are not doing as efficiently as we could. And if we can bring that up to more international standards that are applied locally, because there's a child involved that can actually have access to a home, it shouldn't take so long for that to be completed to get a child into a safe and happy home.
Right. So those three, as we take the next break, sir, those three pieces of legislation, when is it expected that perhaps they will be brought to the House and amended before?
I am hoping that we're contemplating a October meeting, but I don't think it would be too soon for that. But if there is a November meeting, I'd be really hoping to try to push for that meeting.
So before the next general election?
I would hope so. That would be our aim.
All right. Respectfully, sir, we have a scheduled break.
Okay.
All right, let's pause and take that. When we return, we invite you to join us.
The rich flavors of Italy just arrived at Subway. Say ciao to the Italianos. Our 3 new Subway series recipes, carefully crafted with an Italian flair. Try the Hot Shot Italiano for an enticing and zesty touch. The tastier than ever Ultimate BMT, generously stuffed with a mix of ham, pepperoni, and salami. Or go all in with a creamy chicken bacon Alfredo. New Subway series Italianos. Chef-crafted greatness in every bite. Elevate your game only at Subway. Delizioso.
Did you know that Doctors Hospital provides urgent care services 24 hours a day, 7 days a week? And Doctors Hospital's urgent care physicians have access to the most advanced MRI and CT imaging in the Caribbean, providing reliable diagnostics when you need it most. When you need quality urgent care for an illness or injury, Doctors Hospital is here for you 24/7. Whether it's a migraine, chest or abdominal pain, shortness of breath, broken bones, or another urgent need, Doctors Hospital at the top of Walker's Road. Urgent care right now.
Find your dream car with a Cayman National Vehicle Loan. Enjoy 100% financing, up to 8-year repayment, and a 7% fixed interest rate for the first 5 years. For eco-friendly cars, we'll waive your commitment fee. This only applies to new vehicles. Call 949-8300 or email lending@caymannational.com today.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
The end of summer sale is happening now through September 14th at Beacon Furniture, offering discounts on selected furniture, 20% off lamps, and 50% off selected cushions. Refresh your home with gorgeous pieces from Beacon Furniture and save. Visit us at 386 Shamrock Road, opposite the Seafarers Hall. Call us at 943-2500 or check our website at www.beaconfurniture.ky. Beacon Furniture. Buy it today and have it in your home tonight. The DVDL Customer Support Unit is now open. Customers can book appointments for written and driving tests through DVDL's hotline at 945-8344. That's 945-8344.
Radio Cayman's Talk Today. What is on your mind, Cayman?
Hey, welcome back, and thank you for joining us, and thanks to the Honorable Deputy Premier. That exchange back then, this shows that as a public servant, how you want us as a country to engage and to ensure that what we are doing, whether it's a digital ID or otherwise, we're vested in this, and it isn't perhaps going to occur without meaningful public dialogue and discourse. So, hey, thank you. Good stage for the next round of discussions on many things. I know we have the calls, and you've been, very excited to welcome the listeners. So shall we take the calls now, sir?
Take the calls.
All right.
I've got about 15 minutes left, so let's take the call.
Let's go. Hey, welcome, and thank you so much for calling.
Yeah. Good afternoon, Sterling.
Good afternoon, sir. How are you?
And good afternoon to the listening public, and good afternoon to the minister. I'm good.
All right.
Can you hear me well?
Yes. Good afternoon.
Yes.
Yeah, good afternoon. So, I can see the minister's a very busy man. Let me first start out by congratulating the minister. In the 3 years and roughly 4 months that he's been elected, he has made great leaps and bounds and amazing amount of strides under such perilous conditions. And as I listen to him, and he speaks a lot about the overseas travel that's nearby, I know it's an issue that I think he should clear up before he leaves, a domestic issue. And I would just like for the minister to kindly explain to me and the listening public the process that was going for new revenue measures and the situation that's a hot button item right now with the credit union situation. Once the minister replies to that, then I have a few short comments after that, then I will be gone. Please allow me the time. But Minister, please explain in detail to the listening public the process that was taken. Was caucus aware of your endeavors and in full explanation so the average person could clearly understand and see where this was actually going. And then I have a few short comments after you respond to that.
Okay, thank you for the question. I'm going to try to do this as concisely as possible because I think the question connects to the credit union discussions last week. And the reason I say I want to do it concisely is because our ministry and the credit union got to a really good place last week, at the end of last week, where we had a very insightful, engaging, even in prayerful discussion, and ended in prayer between ourselves, the chief officer, Dr. Dax Basteo, the chair, the CEO of the credit union. It was and one other credit union member. It was a very good discussion. So what we sort of recapped in that discussion was at the end of last year, when the budget was approved, and then the run up to that, it was determined via caucus and cabinet, and then highlighted in Parliament, that costs are going to go up for government in 2025. So ministries were given a broad mandate to go look to see where there could be ways in which you can generate revenue to pay for the cost in 2025. And specifically for financial services, it was discussed that a number of the areas where there could be an uplift are in financial services, and to look far and wide throughout all of the regulatory license categories and engage and have communications with those categories and licensees and institutions, just to see, one, what could be based on how long it had been increased previously or ever had a fee, so that caucus could then make a determination after all of that feedback has been collected, as to maybe put it in layperson's terms, which grapes were sour that you necessarily don't want to touch, which grapes are the sweetest ones that are ripe for an increase, and then a decision could go forward. So once we explained that to the credit union last week, they understood. It's okay, so this was just an exercise to just informally have a look, have some analysis, so then it could go forward. So that process of being approved and acknowledged by caucus and cabinet happened last year, and then this year we were collecting up the data. So it got to a good place. They understood that it's a valid question to ask. They've grown to a significant size. It's a cost to regulating them by SEMA. They have a significant balance sheet. But what I always thought would come through is that they would say, well, wait a second, those are all valid points, but here are some submitted facts that the government may wish to consider of the wider community benefit that we provide that could outweigh a fee at all. So it was just a fact-finding mission to try to make a considered determination rather than just say, pick and choose willy-nilly, you're not going to charge this one, you're not going to charge that one. This should actually be based on submitted facts and analysis. And I think when we got to that stage and they understood that, towards the end of Friday, we got to a really good place. So I hope that explains it. And as far as I'm concerned, it's all those issues that we just talked about, and you were talking about digital ID, there are some massive initiatives to go on. And that, to me, Caymanians got together, understood each other, and it's time to move on.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I totally thank you, Minister, for that detailed explanation. Here's my submissions to your response. Credit Union has roughly 20,000 members, which a $200,000 consideration fee would break down roughly to 3 cents per day, maybe just under $15 per member for a year. What I would say to this, I feel like it should be, since the credit union plays a vital role in the monetary assistance of the country, largely the civil service, which is the largest voting bloc. I think there should be that fee in particular should be a non-transferable fee to its membership or its clients, I should say. Anyway, having said that, I think it was premature, first and foremost, and didn't use the right protocol for the credit union membership to come on a public forum like OC show in the morning to act in the way in which they did. Having said that, I do understand that their emotions are very high, and that was that was a flame to their that was gasoline to their smoldering fire, right? But what's even worse than that, in my opinion, right? The members of caucus, namely the premier and the former speaker, gets on the radio and makes an attempt to politically assassinate you for trying to be innovative and finding new revenue measure streams to call, just to plant the seeds of doubt in people's minds about your ability and your accomplishments and the person that you are and the vital instrument as an MP and a human being that you are to the country, to try to gain political advantage on their end, because, mind you, the civil service is the largest voting bloc, and they're the greatest membership holders of that entity. You see, so I think that was very, very awful on both of them. Had they not understood or realized or been aware of the fact-finding mission that your department was on, the measure of protocol that should have been used was to give Minister Ebanks a call and say, educate me on this fact. Not go on the radio as the premier did and said, I don't mean to throw the minister under a bus, but so on and so on. No, she didn't mean to throw you on a bus. She meant to throw you on that train. She wanted to disintegrate you. For the former speaker, for the former speaker who first took time out of his busy vacation to call in to address that matter, right? He's the one is planting the seeds of doubt in people's minds because they are senior politicians and they have ulterior.
All right. Hey, thanks. Mr. wanted to share. Sir?
Thank you, caller. Thank you for your views. Everyone, of course, should have the right to voice their opinion. But I do want to say that from my perspective, life happens.
Mm-hmm.
We as a country have amazing opportunities and significant challenges to overcome. And we'll do that with community dialogue and engagement. So let's not get bogged down in one incident. Life happens. It ended up into a good place. The credit union saw that it was just part of an exercise. I think they've submitted their responses, which I can't wait to read on the plane. We'll continue to move this country forward from strength to strength and not focus on isolated incidents. But thank you. I hear you, and I thank you for your comments. But we have to, as a country, continue to move on and not be bogged down in one news item.
Appreciate that. And the caller's public support and acknowledgement is, recognize. Honorable Minister, you want a few more minutes, or I know you have a very
that caller. Appreciate the comments. Thank you. But it would allow. I'll hang around. I'll be late for the next meeting because it wouldn't be fair for there just to be one caller.
Okay. All right. Well, we got a news break. Or you want to take the calls? Can we
take the call? Can you push the news break?
Can you push the news break? Yeah, let's push the news break.
Yeah.
I'll take licks for later. See
next call.
All right, let's take the next call. Hey, welcome. Thanks for calling. Hello?
Good afternoon.
Afternoon. How are you?
I'm great. Just would like to make the Honorable Andre know. I think that he's doing a good job. I like to see the young guys, Gotterines, holding steady,
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Just want to ask him. I'm a Honorable Kenneth Bryan follower. I love Mr. Kenneth. I love all of my politicians. But I just would like to ask you, what you think about Mr. Bryan, and if elected again, if he would be someone that you would work with in the House.
That's your question. All right. Well, Honorable Minister, hey, thanks for that question, sir.
Okay.
All right. Have a safe and enjoyable weekend. Honorable Minister?
Thank you for the question. I'll address it this way. So Minister Bryan and I were together last night at Pedro Castle. Because as you know, there's a very important regional Caribbean tourism conference happening now. I can't remember exactly how many Caribbean countries, but a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Significant. It was at the West End. Started the actual ceremony and the meat of the conference was at the West End, but the closing dinner was at Pedro last night. And to see all those Caribbean countries come and admire Cayman. And part of what the minister did at the conference was to recap his tour of duty as the chair of the Caribbean Tourism Organization. And he and I laughed because I didn't know this point was going to come up because I didn't know who was going to call. I don't know who's going to call today.
I don't either.
But, so to the point you made at the start of this broadcast about travel, it dawned on me, he gave me an idea. When he recapped his whole year, I was like, wow, maybe I need to think about doing that because it goes to show you how much work he actually did abroad to work with the Caribbean. And I said, bro, I didn't call him minister. I said, bro, I got to give you credit. That's a page from your book that I want to take that you sort of did a collage so people could see how you spent your time for the year. And it's just translating how that benefited to Cayman because, again, it's another example where you can be a regional leader.
You're building bridges.
So who works together will largely depend on the electorate. But I did take my hat off to him and thought that he really did, in that capacity, as far as I could see, did well. And we also talked about the fact that, and I think I mentioned in my speech last night to the visiting ministers, that there isn't a need for, sometimes there's a view that financial services and tourism so somehow compete, but that isn't true. They're very, very complementary. COVID showed that because some of those conferences that come are business conferences. And what I talked about on OC's show this morning was the business travel doesn't follow the same cycle as the usual tourism calendar of vacationers. It can happen at any time of the year.
Right.
You can continue to build on that between financial services and tourism so that you hopefully get to a point where the tourism is immune to the normal cycle, meaning that it doesn't start in November, then sort of drop off in February and then come back in the summertime because business travel are traveling all the time. The conference is when the conference is. It's not vacation. It's not built around school being out. You then have a more vibrant and resilient tourism cycle. So hats off. I thought what I saw last night, the minister did an incredible job.
And that, sir, is one of the reasons why I asked in the country to consider whether how we elect
You're
members of
back to
parliament.
that again.
Yeah, because how can Honourable Minister Brian travel as you are? You just explained this at the outset. You have to be there as minister. You have those obligations, and yet the constituents in the country is going, out gallivanting again. And it's what I'll,
And when you get into some of these, what he and I talked about, some of the forums that you attend, there'll be votes on certain issues. You begin to have colleagues. You begin to share information, share intelligence on financial services. How are you dealing with this issue, Minister? How is your industry reacting? You can't buy that.
Yeah. And you'd be at a disadvantage if you were not present.
If you weren't present. And the country then, to extend the point, the country then becomes at a disadvantage because it doesn't have you there.
But as minister then, if you're not on the ground here, you're at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
See, you can't serve two masters. You see my logic, right?
I hear you.
Yeah,
I hear you.
The difference is you're elected. I can be the pundit. Can we take one more call, sir? Do we have a final call? Is that another call, sir? I have to do a strong apology for having us this late, but
no,
it's our Friday. Hey, welcome. The Honourable Deputy Premier is our guest. We're going to take a couple of, this next call. Welcome.
Good afternoon, gentlemen.
Afternoon, sir.
Good afternoon, Mr. Andre.
Good afternoon.
I guess Mr. Andre is not sure who's talking to him, but this is Orman Investor, so you know now.
Hello, Mr. Orman.
Good. There's something that is really resting heavy in my mind, and that's to do with known as the seamen here, the merchant marines in most countries. Mr. Andre, I see that a lot of seamen, they're actually, in my opinion, being left behind. Let's go back just a little bit, and I'm not going to keep too long. But the seaman of this country was the gentleman that donated pounds, hundreds, thousands of pounds to start Owen Roberts Airport. Now, a lot of those guys that are still living, what the old people say, they're too weak to fly. What they're getting, like $1,250 a month. They got their families. If I be honest with you, and I shouldn't even say it, but I have to say it, sometimes those guys, and they're not alcoholics or drug addicts, they're wondering if, if you can help them to something till they get their paycheck at the end of the month. And I sure do. I'm wondering what the authorities that they are thinking about that are left over seamen so far behind. I mean, you divide that into four. That's $312.50 a week. A man with a family, what he can do with that. And I feel very concerned about putting the seamen with the rest of the people that like the people collect the money from the privileged people. I don't think it should be that way. I am an ex-seaman, a proud seaman, and I think that we should be separated, not being arrogant or proud, but to put us in. Pay attention to those people, and I know you're doing whatever you can, but if you focus a little bit more on where we came from, who we are, and sort of ease up on all of these other people that's coming in here and getting people excited, I don't think the seamen should be left in the bottom of the barrel. So that's my little piece, and I thank you for listening to me, sir. Thank you so much.
Thank you, sir.
So Storman's right that I didn't pick up his voice initially because when he comes to see me in my constituency office, he's much more informal.
That's the respect.
And he just says, "Come here, old boy."
Yeah.
So I did. He was so formal there. Yeah. Hi, sir. I'm sorry that I didn't pick you up in the first 5 seconds, but I recognize the voice and I love him dearly. It's a good question because this came up in the House that the seafarers benefit is now $1,250. On the analysis that I've seen in the department has showed me that on balance, because you can see the financial assessment, the expenses in the household, on balance in the lion's share of cases, that does cover the expenses, particularly because they don't have the expense that others have of rental because they usually own their home. So without the expense of rental and a mortgage, their bills are normally the utilities, the day-to-day, so the $1,250 normally covers it. In addition to that, the coupling with the needs assessment unit is that a number of them do still qualify for the long-term financial assistance, and so in some cases they get both, because they oftentimes, sadly, are on hard times. So to decouple them could make a level of bureaucracy there that they might say, well, now I have to keep track of two different places. So for those reasons, there's efficiency in having it there, even though I understand the separation, that one is an ex gratia payment in honor of the service that you did for the country. But the reality is that a number of them do still fall part of the financial assistance system and get both. But I understand the point, and as the minister responsible for the seafarers and meeting with them, I do understand. There is another issue, if you want me to end on a slightly provocative note, if you want me to go out on a limb.
Go right ahead.
As an extension of Mr. Orman's point. There is whether or not, if you're looking at it from a gender equality standpoint, or whether or not it should be slightly open, there should be some consideration. And this has come up a couple of times in caucus, and whether or not maybe it's the next administration could pick it up, where you still have up, is whether the original first wife of the seafarer should be recognized in part of the benefit. Because part of keeping the economy, when I read into the histories of keeping up the economy, was all of the economic activity that happened on the ground when the seafarer was away. So yes, the external economic activity in those days was in financial services. The external activity that was bringing home revenue was the seafaring activity.
Mm-hmm.
But keeping the home front going and keeping the local economy going was the original wife. And whether or not there should be an ex gratia payment in honor of those. Just something to think about.
You put it on the table.
To consider.
Yours trump mine.
This is not to go back to the first caller's point. This is not a consultation. So I don't mean to cause a whole other show next week when I'm away in London. But it's food for thought. Is whether or not, because they're still there.
Yeah, man. Thank you, sir. And as Mr. Orman recognized, we do have that deference for you, the individual, for you and your colleagues in the office and the positions that you hold. But it's good to be in this country, understanding of Hawaii, that access, the familiarity, but also the respect that we have for those elected, something that we should not take for granted, and seemingly almost unfettered access through Radio Cayman in particular to our airwaves to call and to share. And whether we are a lot younger than I am or of Mr. Orman's seniority, there's always respect.
Always.
And that is who we are. So thank you.
And he made his point so intelligently and eloquently.
Yes.
Yeah.
To you and your traveling, companions, a safe and successful trip and return as well.
I'll end on a joke for you and then a serious point for the listening public. The joke for you is that the 2:15 that I might be late for is the digital ID team. And they want to talk. I'm serious. You can look into my calendar now.
I didn't know that.
You can look into my calendar and they want to talk about how they're going to market it. I will put a placeholder for you that they got to come on this show. Do you? And then on a serious note for the public. No joke. On a serious note for the public, God bless you all, Cayman.
Yeah.
Yes, there are challenges that we have to come to grips with, but I believe in those challenges. As I told the Leadership Cayman cohort group that I spoke to this week, that within those challenges there are opportunities. And if we put our heads together, we have dialogue, just as we did to end on the credit union note, we can get there. And that conversation ended up talking about with the credit union housing finance for older persons. We should have been talking more. So it actually turned out to be a blessing in disguise.
Listen.
All we can do, more we can do with community dialogue, the more that we can do with each other, past acrimony, we can solve a number of issues and really take the country from strength to strength.
Iron sharpens iron.
Iron sharpens iron.
Thank you very much, sir. And I appreciate the opportunity. And thank you for reaching out to us. And looking forward to when you return to talking more about, all that happens as we get into the next election.
Thank you. And I'll be there. It's an honor to serve.
All right. Thanks again for the opportunity to do a little bit late to the news, and I'll write my report and,
Blame it on me.
No, sir. I take responsibility for that. We'll see what happens come Monday. But let's pause, and we'll invite our guests for, next few minutes. Stay tuned.
God bless.
If they are talking about us,
Living in your head rent-free all this time.
we must be relevant. Radio Cayman since 1976. From Radio Cayman's newsroom, this is Headlines.
The headline news is brought to you by Kirk Market.
With your latest headlines, I'm April Cummings. The Department of Commerce and Investment's DCI Administrative and Operations Manager, Trenda Kelly, is named the Cayman Islands Government Employee of the Month for April 2024. She was recognized under the Civil Service Strategic Plan goal, deliver an outstanding customer experience. The 14-year-old suspect in a deadly Georgia high school shooting and his father, who is arrested for allowing his son to have a weapon, will remain in custody after their lawyers decided not to seek bail today. Colt Gray, who's been charged with 4 counts of murder, is accused of using a semi-automatic assault-style rifle to kill 2 fellow students and 2 teachers Wednesday at Appalachia High School in Winder outside Atlanta. His father, Colin Gray, faces related charges in the latest attempt by prosecutors to hold parents responsible for their children's actions in school shootings. A judge today agrees to postpone Donald Trump's sentencing in his hush money case until after the November election. It had been scheduled for September 18th, about 7 weeks before Election Day. The judge says he was postponing the sentencing to avoid any appearance, however unwarranted, that the proceeding had been affected by or sought to affect the approaching presidential election in which the defendant is a candidate. Trinidad and Tobago records its 13th dengue-related death, with health authorities saying today that the number of cases has surpassed 1,300. In a statement, the Ministry of Health said there were 1,315 confirmed cases of dengue fever across the country, with 13 fatalities so far this year. Those are your headlines. I'm April Cummings.
www.radiocayman.gov.ky. Check out our social media pages: Facebook, YouTube, X, formerly Twitter, Radio Cayman Headline News.
You can now renew your driver's license or motor vehicle license online, and you don't need an ESID number. It's as easy as 1, 2, 3. Visit www.dvdl.gov.ky.
When it comes to weekly meal prep, I trust Kirk Market to provide the best value for quality proteins. The butchers at Kirk Market are super helpful. They always slice my steaks perfectly. Kirk Market has everything I need for healthy and flavorful protein-packed meals. From lean cuts of CAB choice beef, tender CAB prime beef, the juiciest pork, and all-natural hormone-free poultry, to their seafood section with everything from fresh local snapper to omega-3 rich salmon. I choose Kirk Market for the highest quality proteins to support my healthy lifestyle. Kirk Market. Eat well, live well, and discover a world of choice.
Did you know ordering your favorite sandwich from Subway just got easier? Yeah, picture this. No more waiting in line. No more fussing with cash. Just a delicious taste of Subway at your fingertips. With our new app, ordering your go-to sub is as easy as a few taps on your phone. Plus, receive exclusive deals and earn loyalty points with every purchase made on the app. Download the new Subway app today and get ready to ditch the lines and drive straight into your flavor. Visit the App Store or Google Play Store on your mobile phone and search for Subway Cayman Islands. Subway. Eat fresh.
You deserve a unique vacation this year, one with easy non-stop flights from Cayman. Cayman Airways offers more non-stop flights to and from the Cayman Islands than any other airline. Now you can add Panama and Los Angeles to your travel bucket list. Skip the hassle of connecting flights. Panama is just a 2-hour non-stop flight from Cayman. And Los Angeles? Get there in less than 5 hours non-stop aboard Cayman Airways. Call 949-2311 or visit CaymanAirways.com to book your Los Angeles or Panama getaway today.
Refer a friend and get $50 to spend when your friend or family member opens a personal account with Cayman National. From July 9th to September 30th, 2024, C&B customers can earn $50 for each referral who opens an individual or joint personal account. Earn up to $500 with a maximum of 10 referrals. Visit CaymanNational.com for more details on this promotion and follow us on social media for updates. Terms and conditions apply.
Accidents and illnesses can strike without warning. Ouch! When it comes to urgent care, every second counts. At Doctors Hospital, we have a dedicated team of experienced doctors and nursing staff available to you 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Don't waste time in an overcrowded emergency room when you need urgent care. Whether it's a broken bone, a severe infection, or a sudden illness, trust in Doctors Hospital's unwavering dedication to providing the best immediate care. For complete urgent care when you need it the most, choose Doctors Hospital, located in Georgetown, 16 Middle Road.
Radio Cayman, your #1 community station, would like to remind you that we are in the hurricane season, and in order to survive a hurricane, you need to be prepared. If officials' sources say a hurricane is imminent, please board up or shutter up windows in your home